All right, thank you guys. Welcome to our NBA video here today for Tuesday, May 11th. My name is Brock Page and I do sports picks for free right here on YouTube. And if you want to see which one of these YouTube picks I'm actually betting on personally here today, don't forget to check me out on my website at patreon.com/BrockPage. Now tonight we do have ourselves an NBA tier package pick going off on that page. We've won 5 out of our last 8 NBA tier package picks on that Patreon site. We're also hitting at 63% in our last 16 NBA tier package picks in that very same category. We currently have over 1,150 members who are signed up and active on that site. And if you want to join those folks and get in on the action, link for that page is in the description section below. And once again, that's patreon.com/BrockPage. With that, guys, let's go ahead and get into some Tuesday action. We're going to start with the Nuggets taking on the Hornets, 7 p.m. Eastern start time. The Denver Nuggets are -6, totals 220.5. Now, the Nuggets haven't played great basketball here recently. They're on a 2-game losing streak, and they dropped 3 out of their last 4. They also failed to cover the number in 6 out of their last 10 ball games as well. Both Barton and Dozier are both still out indefinitely. Meanwhile, Morris and Gordon, they're both listed as questionable for tonight's action. And for some reason, there's just something about the third quarter that makes Denver play badly. I don't know what it is. Maybe they're toking a little herb in the locker room at halftime. I'm not sure. But they're in the bottom 5 in third quarter scoring on the road. And they're in the bottom 10 defensively in third quarter points allowed. So once again, 3Q, not a great spot for Denver. They're taking on a Charlotte team who's been pretty good defensively at the Spectrum Center. The Hornets are currently in the top 3 in defending the 3 ball at home. They allow just 108 points per contest on their home court. Terry Rozier scoring over 20.5 points per contest, 4 rebounds, 4 assists for the starting guard. Meanwhile, LaMelo Ball's dropping 16 points a night himself, along with 5 rebounds and 6 assists. Now keep an eye on Devontae Graham here this evening. He's been battling a knee injury, although there is a chance he could see some minutes here today. Now total-wise, 2 out of Charlotte's last 3 did get over the total. 5 out of their last 9 also got over that number. Meanwhile, Denver saw their last 2 straight get over the total themselves. 6-4 to the over in their last 10 meetings with Charlotte. I'm going to lean toward the Charlotte Hornets +6 and the over 220.5. Next ball game, it is going to be Timberwolves Pistons, 7 o'clock Eastern tip-off. The Minnesota Timberwolves are -7.5, totals 227, juice to the over. And despite a big win over Orlando just a few nights ago, we're once again looking at a tough spot for Minnesota backers, in my opinion. 7.5 is a lot of points to be giving up with a team of this caliber on the road. Now, McDaniels and Hernan Gomez, they're both listed as questionable for tonight's action. And Minnesota's also failed to cover the point spread in 3 out of their last 4. Now, they've yet to reach double-digit road wins this year. They're currently just 9-26 straight up in their 35 road contests. Minnesota's also dead last in defending the 3 ball, dead last in points allowed on the road. They're giving up 120 points per contest when they travel. And they're also letting their opponents drill 40% of their 3-pointers in that same category. Now, they're taking on a Detroit club who isn't great. I get that. I understand it. But they have successfully covered the point spread in 2 out of their last 4. And they also have a winning ATS record at home this year. The Pistons are currently 19-14 against the number at the Little Caesars Arena. They're also in the top 10 in the league in defending the 3 ball at home. They allow just 107 points a night at the Little Caesars Arena. When it comes to the total in this one, 3 out of Detroit's last 4 stayed under the line. 70% to the under in their last 10. Meanwhile, the Timberwolves saw 4 out of their last 7 stay under the total themselves. Throwing out the Miami game, I'm going to go ahead and lean toward the Detroit Pistons +7.5 and the under 227. Next ball game, it is going to be Clippers versus the Raptors, 7:30 Eastern start time. The Clippers are -12, totals 221. Now, the Clippers are comfortably nestled in that 3 and 4 seed area in the West, and they've really kind of put it into cruise control over the past few weeks or so, and I don't mean that in a good way. They lost 4 out of their last 6 ball games, and they also posted a record of just 2-7 against the spread in their last 9. So really not playing, inspired basketball here recently. The Clippers have also been somewhat lackluster against the number when they travel all season long. They're covering in just 50% of their road games this year, and they rank in the bottom half of the league in road scoring. Now they're taking on a Raptors team who's done a pretty nice job covering the point spread recently, despite their straight-up losses. They've actually gone 4-1 against the spread in their last 5 ball games, and they also find themselves in the top 3 in the league in defensive field goal percentage at home. Now the Raptors allow just 108 points a night as the official home team. Now, the reason for such a large number here is because of this Toronto injury report. Lowry, Hood, Siakam, Van Fleet, and Anunoby, they're all out. You're not going to see them in action here. Having said that, though, Gary Trent Jr., he's kind of stepped it up here for his new team. He's scoring over 16.5 points a night with the Raptors. Meanwhile, Chris Boucher, he's dropping over 13.5 points a night himself. So they do have some guys that can ball, at least keep this thing close. Now, total-wise, 2 out of Toronto's last 3 stayed under the line, 60% to the under in their last 10. Meanwhile, the Clippers saw their last 8 straight outings all stay under the total themselves, 11-1 to the under in their last dozen. I'm going to lean toward the Toronto Raptors plus 12 and the under 221. Next ball game, it is going to be Heat versus the Celtics, 7:30 Eastern tip-off. The Miami Heat's -2, totals 222.5. Now, Miami took care of Boston just a few nights ago. That was a nice 6-point victory for the Heat in that one. Having said that, though, Miami did give up 124 points in that contest. And as a matter of fact, they've given up 111 points or more in their last 4 straight ball games. Now, in addition to giving up a bunch of points here lately, which is uncharacteristic of them because that's been the heart of their team, their defense, but despite giving up, in addition to giving up a whole bunch of points here lately, the Heat's been consistently bad on the offensive end of the court this year as well. They're in the bottom 5 in road scoring, bottom 3 in offensive rebounding. Now, the Heat scores just 106 points a game when they travel, and they're making only 33% of their three-pointers in that same category. Now, they're taking on a Boston team who, despite their struggles, I get it, they haven't been playing great this year, but they do still play their best basketball at the TD Garden. They're 21-14 straight up as the home team. The Celtics also lead the NBA in home defensive rebounding. Now, Jason Tatum scoring over 26 points per contest, 7 rebounds, 4 assists for the forward. Meanwhile, Kemba Walker's scoring over 18.5 points a night himself, 3 rebounds, 5 assists for the guard. Now, total-wise, Boston went 7-1 to the over in their last 8 ball games, 70% to the over in their last 10 meetings with Miami. Meanwhile, the Heat's 9-0 to the over in their last 9 straight themselves. I'm going to lean toward the Boston Celtics plus 2 and the over 222.5. Next contest, Sixers, Pacers, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Philadelphia's -6.5, totals 236. Now, the Sixers may have a few guys who might not be showing up here tonight. Joel Embiid's questionable. Simmons and Curry are both questionable as well. Meanwhile, Korkmaz and Thibault, they're both sitting this one out for the Sixers here tonight. And as good as the Sixers have been against the spread here this season, they actually have a losing record against the number when they travel. They're just 16-18 against the spread in their 34 road games. They're also in the bottom 10 in the NBA in road scoring. They're taking on a Pacer team who won 2 out of their last 3 ball games, and that includes a 133-point effort against Atlanta. As a matter of fact, this Pacer team has averaged over 128 points a game in their last 8 contests, throwing out the Sacramento game. The Pacers are in the top 10 in scoring on average per contest for the entire season. No real surprise there. And they're also led by Malcolm Brogdon, who scores 21 points a game along with 5 rebounds and 5 assists. Now, you got to keep an eye on Brogdon here this evening, as he's been dealing with some hammy soreness. So just keep an eye on him if you're looking to fire on this game. I'm optimistic we're going to see him play because he needs to. He needs to play here tonight. Meanwhile, Domantas Sabonis is averaging 20.5 points a game himself, dozen rebounds, 6.5 assists for the forward. And when it comes to the total in this one, 2 out of Indy's last 4 somehow stayed under the number. 6-4 to the under in their last 10 meetings with Philly. Meanwhile, the Sixers are officially 21-13 to the under as the road team. I'm going to lean toward the Indiana Pacers plus 6.5 and the under 236. Next ball game, Nets, Bulls, 8 o'clock East. The Brooklyn Nets are -6, totals 232.5. Despite a bit of a rough patch here recently, the Nets have still won 5 out of their last 9 ball games. And that includes a solid 125-119 victory over Denver. Now, the Nets currently lead the NBA in road scoring, and they're drilling nearly 40% of their three-pointers when they travel. Kevin Durant's averaging over 28 points a night, 7 rebounds, 5 assists for the starting forward. Meanwhile, Kyrie Irving's dropping over 27 points a game himself, 4 rebounds, 6 assists for the point guard. The Nets lead the NBA in offensive field goal percentage on the road. They're taking on a Chicago club who struggles at the United Center. They've won only 13 out of 33 home games. They successfully covered the number in just 39% of those contests. The Bulls are scoring just 109 points per game as the home team. They're also in the bottom 10 in defensive field goal percentage. Now, Brown and Tice are both listed as questionable for tonight's action. When it comes to the number in this one, Chicago's last 2 straight stayed under the posted total, 6-1 to the under in their last 7. Meanwhile, Brooklyn saw 4 out of their last 5 stay under the line themselves, 70% to the under in their last 10. I'm going to lean toward the Brooklyn Nets -6 and the under 232.5. Next ball game, Mavericks versus the Grizzlies, 8 p.m. Eastern start time. The Dallas Mavericks are -2.5, totals 227. The Kristaps Porzingis is sitting this one out here tonight. He's battling some knee problems. Meanwhile, Maxi Kleber, he may be sitting this one out here tonight as well. He's got some Achilles problems, so definitely want to keep an eye on Kleber. And having said that, we're still looking at a red-hot Dallas team who won their last 4 straight. They also went 10-2 straight up in their last dozen. The Mavericks have also done a real nice job covering the number recently as well. They actually went 8-3 against the spread in their last 11. Now, the Mavs have played their best basketball on the road this year. They're 21-13 straight up when they travel, and they're also in the top 10 in defensive points allowed on the road. And of course, when you mention Dallas, you got to mention Luka Doncic. Just the youngster has been outstanding the past couple of seasons. He's averaging 28 points a game here this year, 8 rebounds, 8 assists for the starting guard. Meanwhile, Tim Hardaway Jr. is averaging over 16.5 points per contest himself, along with 3 boards. Now, in addition to being in the top 3 in defensive field goal percentage on the road, the Mavericks are also in the top 10 in road scoring. They're taking on a Memphis club who has a losing record at the FedEx Forum. Memphis has won just 15 out of 33 home games. They failed to cover the point spread in 6 out of their last 9 ball games at any location. Now, the Grizzlies have struggled offensively at home. They're currently in the bottom 5 in home three-point percentage, and they average just 109 points a game at the Forum. Now, total-wise, when it comes pollen, wow. Let's try that again. Total-wise, the Grizzlies saw their last 3 straight all stay under the line. They're also 70% to the under in their last 10. The Grizzlies are officially 21-12 to the under as the home team as well. Meanwhile, 2 out of Dallas's last 3 stayed under the total themselves. I'm going to lean toward the Dallas Mavericks -2.5 and the under 227. No, it's not COVID, guys. It's pollen. Speaking of COVID, did you know that flu cases in the United States went from 200,000 last year down to just 2,000 this year? Amazing how that happens. That's incredible. But anyway, next game, Magic, Bucks, 9 p.m. Eastern start. The Milwaukee Bucks are -14, totals 229.5. Now, Milwaukee's heading into the second of a back-to-back here tonight. They failed to cover the point spread in their last 3 straight. And they just gave up 146 total points to San Antonio just last night. Now, the Bucks have been doing a lackluster job of covering the point spread at home. Milwaukee's covered the number in just 50% of their home games. Now, the Bucks are in the bottom 10 in the NBA defensively in points allowed. They're also in the bottom 5 in defending the three ball. They're taking on an Orlando team who covered the point spread in 4 out of their last 7, throwing out the Minnesota game. And as bad as they've been this season, Orlando successfully covered the number in 50% of their road games. The Magic certainly rebound well on the offensive end of the court. They're in the top 5 in home offensive rebounding. They're also in the top 10 in home defensive field goal percentage as well. So not many bright spots, but a few bright spots, for Orlando backers here. Now, total-wise, Orlando saw 7 out of their last 10 meetings with Milwaukee stay under the line. Meanwhile, the Bucks went 60% to the under in their last 10 themselves. I'm going to lean toward the Orlando Magic, plus 14 in the under 229.5. Next ball game, Knicks, Lakers, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The Lakers are minus 4.5. Probably going to see that number change here, and I'll explain in a little bit. Totals 213. Now, LeBron James, he will not be making his return here tonight. He's been ruled as out, although it looked like he was going to play. Of course, Schroeder's also still out. And Kuzma may not play either. But regardless, the Lakers have lost 7 out of their last 10. And they successfully covered the number in only 30% of those contests. Now, they're in the bottom 10 in the league in scoring on average per game. And they make only 33% of their three-pointers at the Staples Center. They're taking on a Knicks team who has the best defense in the league. They've led the association all season long in points allowed and defending the three ball. The Knicks allowed just 104 points per contest on the road, and they hold their opponents to just 32% shooting from beyond the arc in that same category. The Knicks are also one of the better road covering teams in the game right now. They've gone 22-13 against the spread in their 35 road games. Julius Randle's averaging over 23.5 points a game, 10 rebounds, 5 assists for the forward. Meanwhile, R.J. Barrett scoring 17 points a night himself, 5 rebounds, 3 assists for the guard. Now, total-wise, 3 out of Los Angeles' last 5 ball games got over the line, 7-3 to the over in their last 10 meetings with New York. Meanwhile, the Knicks went 6-3 to the over in their last 9 themselves. I'm going to lean toward the New York Knicks plus 4.5 in the over 213. The next ball game, it is going to be Suns versus the Warriors, 10 p.m. Eastern tip-off. The Phoenix Suns are minus 5, totals 231. Now, the Suns have lost 2 out of their last 3 ball games, bottom 3 in the NBA in offensive rebounding on the road. They also failed to cover the point spread in 3 out of their last 5 ball games as well. The Suns are in the bottom 10 in the league in first quarter scoring away from home. Now, they're taking on a Golden State club who's on a 3-game winning streak. And they also got the job done against the number in 5 out of their last 6. Golden State's 22-11 straight up at the Chase Center. And they're in the top 5 in home three-point percentage. Steph Curry makes 43% of his three-pointers. No real surprise there. He averages over 31.5 points a night, along with 5 rebounds and 5 assists. I feel like he's been doing that quietly this year as well. But great numbers out of Curry. Meanwhile, Andrew Wiggins is dropping 18 points a game himself, along with 4 rebounds and a couple assists as well. Now, the Warriors are scoring nearly 117 points a game on their home court. They're also in the top 5 in defensive field goal percentage at home as well. Now, total-wise, 4 out of Golden State's last 6 stayed under the number, 9-1 to the under in their last 10 meetings with Phoenix. The Warriors are officially 41-28 to the under for the entire NBA season thus far as well. I'm going to lean toward the Golden State Warriors plus 5 in the under 231. And with that, guys, we're going to jump into our next and final matchup for the show. It is going to be Thunder versus the Kings, 10 o'clock Eastern start time. Sacramento Kings are minus 10.5, numbers 224. But as good as Sacramento has been playing here lately, this is an incredibly big number for a team who plays no defense. Sacramento's dead last in the NBA in home points allowed. They're also dead last in defending the 3-ball in that same category. The Kings allow 120 points a game at the Golden One Center. They're letting their opponents make 40% of their three-pointers there. Now, Fox and Woodard are still out. Barnes and Whiteside are questionable. They're taking on an OKC squad who, believe it or not, they have a winning record against the spread away from home. The Thunder's currently 19-16 against the spread when they travel, and they're in the top 3 in defending the 3-ball on the road. OKC also ranks in the top 5 in the league in offensive rebounding. Darius Bazley scores over 13.5 points a night for the Thunder, along with 7 rebounds. Now, total-wise, OKC's last 2 straight got over the line, 4-2 to the over in their last 6. Meanwhile, the Kings are 21-13 to the over as the home team, 60% to the over in their last 10 meetings with OKC. I'm going to lean toward the OKC Thunder plus 10.5 and the over 224. With that, guys, we're going to dive into our quick pick recap, powered to you by my Patreon website. I like Charlotte plus 6 over 220.5, Detroit plus 7.5 under 227, Toronto plus 12 under 221, Boston plus 2 over 222.5, Indiana plus 6.5 under 236, Brooklyn Nets minus 6 under 232.5, Dallas Mavericks minus 2.5 under 227, Orlando Magic plus 14 under 229 and a hook, New York Knicks plus 4.5 over 213, Golden State Warriors plus 5 under 231. And before I give you my next and final free pick for the video, one final reminder that we've won 5 out of our last 8 NBA tier package picks on my Patreon website. We're also hitting at 63%, and our last 16 NBA tier package picks on that Patreon page as well. I'm going to lean toward the OKC Thunder plus 10.5 and the over 224. With that, guys, that's going to do it for me. Don't forget to check me out on my Patreon website. If you guys end up getting a package here today on Patreon, just keep in mind, Patreon's going to bill you the day you sign up and then the first of every month following that. So if you do end up getting a package here today on Patreon, just keep in mind, you're going to get access to the content you pay for all the way through the end of May. So if you sign up today, you're still getting exceptional value. But regardless, guys, most importantly, I got to thank you for joining me right here on YouTube. Really hope you enjoyed all this great free content, all this great free information. And with that said, happy Tuesday to you. Best of luck to you. And I look forward to seeing you later on today on my website at patreon.com/BrockPage.